Welcome back. In this video, we're going to give you a quick overview about the configuration options. Now, Genesys provide various configurations in our organizational level. You got the locations, add users, assign role and permissions, group users, and document sharing. Now, organization settings include things like status, per password requirement, default languages that you might want to configure. So in that scenario, anything related to organization that applies to everybody, such as the default language, it will be set in this particular configuration set. Locations is where you set the location and sitemap. So this is, for example, you can upload your floor plan, you can upload your location addresses, name of the sites that you might have where users or agent may belong to. Add users. Well, obviously this is a section where you will add the users. There are a couple of ways of adding the users. One of them are manually, where you add users individually. You can use a bulk import, or you can send an invite and people will then join through that method as well. Roles and permission. This is where you will set the roles for the users and give them permissions. Now, user can belong to multiple role with different permissions in different area. So this most restricted permission will apply first, and you can create certain roles. What information you get to see or access will depend on your role and permissions that are given to you. Configurations, obviously, all the group that you create, the user base with similar functionality. Groups could be their official group or social group. Some organizations like to create a social group for party planning or fire hazard or group chat, stuff like that, where official group could be like sales group, support group, customer, I don't know, survey group, stuff like that. Document sharing is where you establish data sharing policies for your organization, whether uploading file is allowed or not, what the file size should be. So this is where you will control the various aspects of your document sharing. Then the main configuration, for example, organization ID. A newly created Genesys organization has a unique name and identifier assigned to it. You can view that by going to the admin, account settings, and organization settings. Now you can view your organization name, short name, and the ID in the details. Now if you ever need to contact your Genesys support, you will need to provide this organization ID, for example, right here. So this is the company name, this is the short name, and this is the ID you may need to use to get support from Genesys. Under password management, you can define your password policy. A lot of companies will have password policy, like what's the minimum length, maximum length, or there are certain characters has to meet a requirement. And if you want to enable or disable cloud login, this is where you want to enable that. If you want pop-out authentication for embedded iframe, like for example, you may want to create a login snippet on your web page, then you want to either enable or disable that features here on that. So these are your password policies. Again, every company is different. Some of them will have what you call a certain privilege requirement. Password expires or not expires. Now you can turn this feature on. Now you can also enable single sign-on authentications, but that is a different area where we'll learn how to configure that. Status management, this is where you're going to see the status. You can add a secondary status in your status. For example, if you want the users to specify the break that they're taking, you can add meal, stretch, or coffee break. This will give the users a chance to select one of these options when they go in a break, whatnot. Location detections, from the tab you can specify location detection, which is on, which will request the user and agent sharing their location to GX. So this will be like if your computer has location enabled, the GX will automatically kind of like try to access that. A lot of company user has disabled the location on their browser, so they may not work, so you have to enable that feature. Default language, but from the setting you can select the default language from the drop down. The selected default language is used for notification emails such as new invite or password reset. The default languages are not related to the organization's language setting. Now, issue reporting email address, you can configure an issue reporting email address to receive suggestions and concern about the Genesys Cloud at your organization. Like if you want to receive some feedback from the Genesys on a regular basis, you want to specify an email address that you want to achieve that, receive that information from right here. So this is where you will receive all sorts of recommendation from Genesys. You may want to use a distribution list so that that information can come to group of users, like all your level 1, level 2 engineers, if they want to respond to those issues. Onboarding, user must be invited to access the CX Cloud. So there's a process of going on in onboarding. You can do an open admission. At this point, you can specify an email address domain that person must use to create a new Genesys CX Cloud account. So if you say that voicebootcamp.com, so anybody with fcon at voicebootcamp or support at voicebootcamp will be able to request an admission. Or you can enable auto invite, where email address invitation will be automatically sent to a user who's added to the organizations. Security and compliance, Genesys Cloud CSS does not perform any antivirus scan on attachment that are shared in the chat. You can disable the file attachment if you want to under the organization settings. Genesys Cloud is compliant with the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, which is known as HIPAA, and Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or known as PCI DSS. To enable compliance feature for organization, you want to contact the Genesys Cloud CX support team. All right, so that's the accessibility of your Genesys Cloud CX. Hopefully you got a better understanding how to log in and get access to certain area of your configurations. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next video.